My name is Evelyn Thomas, and I was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, February 17th, 1933. My parents was Rogreda and Bud Kirsch. It was 11 of us in our family, and I am the only one of our 11 siblings that's still alive.
How many brothers?
It was 6 boys and 4 girls. My oldest brother, Willie Lee. My second oldest brother was Arthur Lee. My third brother was James Harold. Then my sister was Betty Lou, and then me, Evelyn Thomas. And then Maddie Helen and Bobby Joe, Patrick, Judy, and Hattie Jean. Back then, we didn't have electricity, and we did not have gas. We had wood stoves, and we had to burn lamps, coal oil lamps. We had to be sure that the lamp chimneys was clean and the burners was trimmed, so the light was trimmed and burning bright. And we had chores. All of us children had chores to do. We had to make sure that the dishes was washed, and we had to make sure that the house was cleaned. We used to have to get out there and sweep our yard. If there was any paper in the trash, anything, we had to sweep the yard and keep the yards clean too. And we did our washing. We had wash tubs. Back then in there, people didn't have washing machines like they have now. But we would wash our clothes. We had a washboard. And when we hung the clothes on the line with the clothespin, my mother would come through and look. And if the clothes was not clean, she would come take them down and put them back in the tub. And we had to wash them over. And that learned us how to wash, how to clean, and how to keep things going. We had a big number 3 wash pot out there, and we'd put a big fire on it and fill it up full of water, and we'd get hot water out of this wash pot and wash our clothes. We had to iron our clothes. My mother did not allow us to wear what we called back then rough dried clothes, but now they called wrinkled. We went to school and we came home, and after we ate our dinner, we had to be sure that the dishes was washed. They was put up, a water bucket was full of water, and wood was by the stove. That was my brother's job, to get that wood in the house and be sure that they had wood to make a fire with. We would have time that we would share with each other, maybe if my sister and I would wash dishes today, then tomorrow would be my next sister, and the 2 sisters, and we would wash. The boys would get out there and they would be sure that the wood was in the house and everything like that. Mm-hmm. We knew we had a job to do, and we didn't have no problem doing it because we know our mother, when she came home from work, she was going to look to see that everything was done. Well, it was very good because my mother didn't allow us to fight, and we would come home and we had to do our schoolwork and do our chores, and then we did whatever else we needed to do, and what other time was left, we had time to play. We played ball, we played hopscotch, and we jumped rope. We played hide and go seek, and we just had a real nice time. And sometimes the other kids from the neighborhood would come over if it was summertime or springtime, and we could play outside. But in the wintertime, you came in, did your homework, and you stayed inside. But we never got bored. That time we didn't have television. We did finally get a radio where we could listen to the radio, but we did our homework. And when you did your chores and did your homework, well, it was almost really time for you to go to bed. We would just go to the store, and every now and then we would get to go to a movie on Saturday. Now, when we got up big enough, we'd go to church. We all would join the choir. And we would go to church and we'd go to a choir rehearsal. And Sunday morning we got ready to go to church. We would sing in the choir. We'd go to Sunday school, and we had things like that we had to do. And if some of the elderly people needed something or needed us to do something, but my mother would always let us go and do them and help them out. So we were very good. We were very good about going and helping our neighbors. We would play at school when we was on the school ground, and we would walk home from school, and everybody just got along and tried to do the right thing, because we knew if we didn't and our parents found out, we were going to be in trouble. They would come over, they would ask their parents could they come over in the evening, and we would play when the weather was nice, and we just had a nice time. It wasn't a lot of fighting and going on like these kids do nowadays. I went to Dunbar School, from there to Howard School, and from Howard School to Lincoln High School. Well, we didn't really have a lot of problem because we kind of lived in a black neighborhood, and we didn't have, in the school we was going to, it wasn't no white kids going there. They was all black. So we really didn't have any problem with because there wasn't no white kids in our neighborhood that went to the schools where we were going. You may see some in the grocery store, but you didn't see any around in the neighborhood where we lived at. It was predominantly all black.
Was there like a movie theater only for blacks, or did
No.
you all have to sit back like they did
Yeah,
before?
the black people went upstairs and the white folks sit downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
We always had to go upstairs. It was called a new theater, and it was downtown where we was able to walk because it was on Garrison Avenue, and that was about 5 blocks from where we lived at. I think it was like 10 cents to go to the movie. When we got to be teenagers, things started to kind of change. After we got to, well, we would still go to the movies. We would get more involved in things around the church, and we would go and just take part. But there, the kids would always kind of, the parents would let you go and help the older people, the senior citizen people that needed some help. That was one of the things that we got to go and do, and they was very appreciative to it. Miss Lady may want you to go to the store for her. Go to the grocery store for her. Buy something for her, and she would send you to the store. They would ask your mother, can you go to the store? We'd go to the store and do things for them, for the older people that didn't have nobody to go do things for them. Well, we kind of had a little dance team at the school, but it wasn't a whole lot of activities that we was able to do back then. And they had like reading contests and that kind of things at school, but it wasn't a lot of other activities that you
like
had
basketball
to go.
for
No,
girls' teams.
At first it wasn't, yeah.
Yeah.
Later, after we got to the Lincoln High School, then that's when it got to be basketball games and things like that. But at your junior high school and with your grade school, you didn't have any of that. We didn't get to go to too many games because we had to walk. And Lincoln High School was on the north side of town, and we lived on the south side of town. And especially in the wintertime, it'd be too cold to be walking.
Yeah.
We didn't have no car. Practically everywhere we went, we had to walk. They really didn't have buses running in our community. And later, after they started getting buses, it wasn't where we would be going. No, we didn't go on no vacations back when I was a child growing up. We had Vacation Bible School. And we would go to Vacation Bible School and have a good trip.
That's
the only
church
vacation.
activity.
Anything that we did, it was to the church activities. We didn't have a lot of other things outside of the church that we did. We never hardly go out of town. After I got up a pretty good size, my aunt, well, we call Aunt Faye and Aunt Lou, they used to go to different places, and they would take me with them. I did get to go with them. And Reverend Teddy McGill had a car, and if he was going somewhere to preach, they would let me go with him, and I would go with him. He'd come by and pick us up, and we would go. But that wouldn't be for all kids. That would be just for the people that he would pick up, going to church. It was still all church activities. We went to a place called Huntington, Arkansas. It was probably in 45 minutes from where we lived, and then we would go to Moffett, Oklahoma. It would be across the bridge. They had a church over there, and we would go over there with him, to, when he was going to preach or something like that. I got to go. The other kids didn't go to things like that, but I did.
Was that something you look forward to doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was something you get out of the house. Well, no, I really didn't do a lot of things to get in trouble because I knew my mother would really wear us out. I didn't want to get no whipping. Most of us didn't want to get one, so we really tried to do right and do the things that we knew that we was not going to get in trouble for. If we was outside doing something, now we played ball out, it was in the street by where we lived at. And we would have a big ball game with some of the other neighbors' kids. And we would get out there and play ball, and we'd get with them and play hide and go seek and this kind of stuff. We didn't get to go and do a whole lot of things away from the neighborhood. And the nighttime started getting dark, you had to be at home. If it started getting dark, and when my mother came home from work, we knew it was time for us to go home. And you didn't leave the yard unless your parents told you could leave. You had to stay in the yard, and they had to know where you was at all times. You wouldn't be gone off somewhere and they didn't know where you was. If you did, you was in trouble. We used to eat beans. That's why I don't care too much for beans today. We used to eat a lot of beans and greens, and we had gardens that they would grow a lot of vegetables and different things like that. You go and buy skins, rolls of skins, and just a lot of different stuff like that that you could go to the supermarket and buy. If somebody killed a hog, they would come back and divide it with all of the people in the neighborhood. And you would get a lot of meat like that. Or some of the stores, they used to have sales, and we would, if you had the money, you could go and buy different things. But we never had a hungry day in our life, and we always had plenty. My Aunt Lula lived with us, and she was always baking bread, baking cupcakes, they call them whole cakes, and all this kind of stuff, so we always had plenty. And Mr. Teddy McGill, Reverend Teddy McGill, worked at Banfield Packing House, and I shall never forget it. And they would give away the oxtail. And so Reverend McGill would come through in his car, and he would have a car full of oxtail. And he was all along our block there, where he knew the people that had kids. He would come through and he would give you, and they weren't cut. They were long. They were still long. They'd be skinned, but they was not jointed cut. They was whole tail. He would come through and give you 2 or 3 however kids that you had, that they know that the people had. He would bring oxtail through there, and they'd give him. And next thing, honey, everybody was cooking a big old pot of oxtail soup and stew and stuff like that. Yeah, and they would give away pig feet, and they would give away kidneys. They give away pig ears at the packing house. They didn't use back then. They didn't sell none of that stuff. They gave it away, and the people that were working down there, they could get it. And my brothers and them used to go down there, and they would have chitlins and hog maws and all that kind of stuff. And honey, they would take a big croaker sack down there and come back, and they'd take a little red wagon, and we had a little red wagon, and come back with just as much stuff as they could get in that wagon. And see, like people buy all that stuff today, they used to give it away. Well, a lot of the men worked at what they call the WPA, that's for public service, and they would work, and a lot of the women, now my mother, she worked, she would go iron on Tuesday for one lady, and then she worked for the Ferreras. They were kind of wealthy white people, and she worked every day for them, except she worked a half a day on Tuesday for Miss Annie. I never will forget that. And they had a dairy. And the way they'd pay her, they paid my mother, I never forget it, $7 to iron. She just ironed for them. And then they would give her a whole gallon of milk, a gallon of sweet milk, and it would have that much cream on it. And they would give her a big gallon of buttermilk. And they'd pay her $7. And she would go and do all this big ironing for them on Tuesdays. Then she would leave there Tuesday evening and go to the Ferreras and, cook and do all the stuff that she did all the rest of the week. I started working, I think I must have been about 14 or 15, and I started out going to work with my mother over to the Ferreras. They would let me come over, and I think they paid me like an extra $5 a week. I think my mother made $25, and they gave me a $5. We used to, on the weekends, my brother and some of us would go to the bean patch. We could pick beans, we used to pick peas, and we used to cut spinach. And you could go, we did that on Saturdays. Really, a lot of people really could cut that spinach and pick them beans and then peas. The beans and peas weighed much heavier than the spinach, And then you could bring it home if you wanted. You could bring a big sack
as
of it
much
home
as you wanted home.
Back then and there, parents didn't let you start, I did boyfriending and girlfriending. If they knowed about it, you had to keep it kind of secret.
So you didn't have a crush?
No.
A boy you liked?
No, not really. I kind of liked one boy. His name was, I think, Jesse Henderson. Reverend Neil Henderson had a boy too named Bobby, and had one they called him Bobo. I kind of liked Bobo. He was the oldest one, but we didn't ever go anywhere. We would just kind of smile at each other and talk at school and what have you. Or maybe walk home from school or something, you know. And because they lived back over on the south side and we was on South 9th Street. So they get to my house before they got home and just keep on walking. But we didn't, girls wasn't fast behind boys back then like they are now. Oh, honey, I didn't start getting dating until I was
Married?
Well, yeah, I was almost grown. I think I went to a prom. I'm trying to think of who took us and had to bring us back. And you know, my mother and them was all sitting there waiting for us to get back home.
Because you met Dad when you were 18?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got married. We didn't date very long. His sister was a beautician, and I used to go over there and she did my hair. He had been in service. He'd been in the army. He would be waiting every time I would go get my hair done. He'd be over there. And then finally, I think he asked my mother could he come see me or something. She really didn't want to, but she told him, yeah, he could come see me, but he didn't have the freedom to just be going all around and staying out late. And of course, she wasn't ready for us to get married, but we did. We couldn't tell her for about 2 weeks. But he'd go home and I'd go home, you know.
So you went and got a
We
marriage
go to-
license and went to the court
Yeah.
house and got married.
Yeah. The judge married us.
And she went back home for 2 weeks and the parents, nobody knew.
Well, they was all surprised, very surprised, and my mother bawled him out good.
She was upset.
Yeah, very upset. So after that, we did go ahead. She decided to go ahead and let us, since we already got married. And then I had got a job too, so we got a house and we got some furniture and moved in this little house. It was on the south side, and that's where we all lived, on the south side. The living room and a kitchen and one bedroom and back porch.
Bathroom was outside, right? You had an outhouse?
Yeah, it was the outhouse was outside. Most people, we didn't have a lot of people going to college at that time. Black people was kind of poor. They didn't have money to go to, and they didn't have scholarships and, you know, like they do now. Most of the time, if you finished high school or school, you had to get your job, go to work, because it wasn't no money. I think we moved to Kansas City. I think we moved there in '54, I believe. Deborah was born in Kansas City, and we left back to Fort Smith. Harvey was born in '56. Sue came along. She was born in '57. Marcia was born in 1959. Donna was born in 1962. And then when Donna was a baby, we moved back to Kansas City. And that's where we stayed and all the kids went to school. When we first started out, I was going to have two. I was going to have a boy and a girl. But it just escalated. Deborah, let's see, who did I name her after? Somebody, I think was it a movie star or somebody?
Oh, that was Marcia that was named after a movie star.
Yeah, Marcia. I named her after Marcia Hunt. Harvey was married. You was named
Junior.
Daddy.
after your dad. Karen was named after somebody I knew.
Well, where did the middle names come in?
Sue.
Karen Sue, I just made them up.
Sounded
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying,
sounded good together.
Deborah Jo was
Behind Miss Josie.
Right,
her
middle
grandmother's
name.
name was Josie.
Josephine.
Josephine Thomas, and so we put Deborah Jo on there after her grandmother. And Donna,
She called me Baby K.
sure, yeah, she was Baby Kate. And I used to look at Donna, and she would just be looking up at me, just smiling. And I would say, "How's my little baby Kate?" And she would just have her little eyes looking up at me, as if to say, "I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine." And I always remember that. We kind of had a struggle for a while, but it all turned out good. I thank God for that. it was a struggle for a while because I was in Kansas City and I moved back to Fort Smith. Then I moved back to Kansas City a couple of times, 2 times, 3
Too
times.
many to count.
Several.
Several
Several.
times. Yeah, kind of back and forth until we finally decided that this was going to be what it was going to be. Well, I think that they were all very good. I tell you what I did. I worked 2 jobs for 10 years, and they was all going to school. And I would work 8 to 5 on one job. And then I'd come home and they would all, well, they was able to get up and get themselves pretty well ready for school. Then I would, cook to have food for them when they come home and wash or whatever I had to do. And then when they all got home, I would try to lay down, take me a little, sleep a little bit, and get up ready to go to work that night. I had a good neighbor, and I'll never will forget her. She's dead and gone. Her name was Miss Rosa Jackson. And Miss Rosa told me, she said, Miss Thomas, she said, I know you're trying to raise your kids. Because their dad was in Kansas City, and I was in Fort Smith with the kids. She said, she slept on her couch right next to her front door. Her front door and my front door was right across from each other because we was in this apartment complex. And she said, go on to work. Don't worry about nothing. If your door open, I'm going to get up and see who it is. I worked 8 to 5 at Sports Hospital. And these kids stayed home. They would get up and get themselves ready for school the next morning because I made sure their clothes was ready tonight. Remember, they would all go to school, and then when school was out, they would all come on home. They'd have their dinner, and they would go ahead and do whatever they needed to do. And Miss Rosa Jackson would watch my house and make sure that nobody came there after I left, and they didn't go nowhere. They stayed right there and went to bed.
And
And
call her Nosy Rosie.
And yeah, and they called her Miss Rose because they knew she was watching my house, and they started calling her Nosy Rosie. But I told them that's all right. She's watching after y'all. And we lived over there in the project, and my mother lived across the drive, and of course naturally she couldn't see my house good, and Miss Rosie could because she was right next door. They all kind of watched out after them for me because they knew that I was trying to work to take care of me. And I didn't have a lot of problems out of them when they was growing up. Butch played football, and he'd have to be at the north side. Every now and then I would try to take off and go and look at some of his games. I wouldn't always be able to stay for all of it, but I could stay for part of it because I had to go home and go to work. But I think they turned out really good.
Memories of growing up. Well, one of the things I know that my parents struggled a lot, didn't have a lot of financial means, but what I learned and realized, they took what they had and made the most of it. After my parents separated, not divorced, but separated, my mother was very determined to be a good provider for us. She made a lot of sacrifices for us. The main thing was we all felt loved. That love enabled us to accomplish and achieve things. So even though we didn't have a lot of finances, just feeling loved and knowing that the sacrifices that she made for us enabled us to graduate from high school. We steered clear of getting in trouble. We always tried to do things to make her proud of us, knowing that we were a single parent home that we couldn't afford to get in trouble. For me, I was a little mischievous, but not really getting in trouble, and then one of the things I'll say that really has made a difference in my life, from growing up in the house, was the spirituality part. Being taught about God at an early age, taken to church and being reminded about how good God has been to us, and that has made a difference. Friends that I grew up with, a lot of them got involved in activities and did things that was detrimental and even deadly. So I thank my mother for providing that foundation to honor God, keep God in our lives. And she prayed for us. And that was, she had her own hedge of protection around us through her prayers and her beliefs and how that affected our lives. And even though, again, we didn't have a lot of materialistic things, but we had love as a foundation. Through her guidance and direction, I believe that we have done well in spite of the economics that we faced. She was a provider, and she gave us a sense of well-being. She gave us a sense of comfort. She gave us a sense of protection.
Security.
Yeah, security. And she also gave us inspiration in believing that we could achieve anything if we put our mind to it. She gave us a sense of structure. She gave us a sense of believing that we can achieve some things in life even though we have struggles. So I think the main thing was her spirituality. That's the most outstanding thing that I can think about. Is what she provided was an atmosphere of knowing God and believing in God and praying to God and knowing, and that gave a sense of well-being. And again, that the security part had a profound impact on my life. And she didn't seem like she was overwhelmed by anything. She didn't seem like she was stressed out about anything, because I believe that it was because of her prayers, and her belief. I mean, that gave me a sense of well-being about her beliefs and believing in yourself. But I do remember one time, I used to run track too, so this one particular time, we was being mischievous, and after the track meet, we didn't get a trophy. So when we got back to the school, me and about 3 of my friends said, well, we're going to get us a trophy out the trophy case. So we jimmied the lock in the trophy case, and we took some trophies. And I brought it home, and I told Mom that I got a trophy. And they did this little investigation and come to find out about it. Didn't they come up there and tell you something about it? I'd taken a trophy from the school and stuff like that. We also took some bags of popcorn too. So we had popcorn and trophies. And I think I remember the last discipline I got, but it was always back to the love. That is what has made a profound impact. One other time, my cousin, Mike Thomas, he came from the Army one weekend, and I was riding with him. We were riding through the project, through the square, and so my cousin saw this guy, and he got out the car. He said, well, Butch, I want you drive the car for me. So he reached in the glove compartment, and he had a nickel-plated .38. He stuck the pistol in his pocket, and he got out the car, and he said, hey, you drive the car. So he walked up to this guy, and he hit this dude and knocked him down, and the guy, got up, started running, so my cousin started shooting at him. He didn't hit him, but so anyway, somebody called the police. They saw me driving the car, pulled me over. When my mother found out about it, I think she was asleep. She was asleep, getting ready to go to work that night. And somehow somebody told her that I was driving Mike's car, and the police had pulled me over. And that was the first time I think she was really upset with me. And that affected me because I didn't like the fact that I had upset her. But overall, I think, we just had a good example for a mother. And I just can't thank her enough for her praying for me, for her being there for me, being supportive. And when I was in college, she used to send me, I call them care boxes, cans of soup and Vienna sausages and potted meat. I never eat the potted meat though. But but again, just caring. So that's what some significant things, and that meant a lot to me.
Memories that I have of just kind of growing up with Mom, I guess I could say the earliest is just seeing her sacrifice, how much she sacrificed for us to make sure that we had a decent home to live in, and food, and just basic, necessities, food, shelter, clothing, that type of thing. We really did work hard at trying not to get into trouble, not to disappoint her in any kind of way, knowing, how she had to sacrifice for us so much. And I think that has really impacted me as a mother, because just to see, all the things that she has done, and to love your children. I feel like she loved each of us equally. Sometimes in families, somebody might have a favorite or whatever, but she treated us equally and loved us, all the same. And that has, kind of influenced how I relate, to my own children. And then the next one, she didn't spread the rod, that's for sure. We all got our share. I remember one specific incident. So you remember when we lived on 40th Street and Sue and I were trying to get in the refrigerator at the same time, and I opened the door, and I think Sue slammed the door on my hand. And so I just reached in there and grabbed a pitcher of ice water and I dumped it on her. Then, so I was, Sue started yelling like she was about to die and all that kind of stuff. But so Mama came and she was going to whip me. And then I broke off running, and she was telling Deb to get a bell, and then go catch her. Because I was, running. The kitchen was here, and then there's another bedroom, and you go through a bathroom. And then it was, my parents' bedroom. So my dad was in the bed sleeping. He had the door kind of barricaded up because it wouldn't stay, the lock or something, it wouldn't catch. And so I busted through the door, and, he woke up, and Mama was saying, catch her. And so I ran outside and I was screaming and I was yelling, to the top of my voice saying, oh, somebody please help me. She's going to kill me. She's trying to kill me. She's like, yeah, you get back in this house because you're really going to get it. But so she was, when she told you to do something, she expected us, to conduct ourselves, in a manner that was appropriate. And then I think the next thing is probably when I started having kids, she would come out here to help. Well, she was here when Princess and Wilfred were born, and then you too, Quincy, when you guys were born. So it just meant a lot, to have her here to help and to support me in all the different ways that she has throughout the years. In the kitchen too, sharing all of her good meals and recipes. And now I have a booklet that when she's no longer around, I'll be able to make, everything. I could probably make it now, but I still enjoy her, just being in the kitchen and sharing together. Another thing, how she has impacted my life is just learning how to love unconditionally, watching how she related to, my father when things weren't perfect. The relationship was, never really perfect, but just watching her love, even when somebody is not treating you the best or in a respectful way, that Christian value was loud and clear because she loved all the time. And she taught me what it means to love your husband, the way, in the Christian way. And so just,
how to save money.
Oh, that's
Don't
right. Yeah, she taught me the importance of saving and having the rainy day fund and, never to be broke. I don't think I'd ever be broke based on the lessons, that I learned from her, able to stretch a dollar and to make it go far.
And I would just like to say too, I love my children. I tell you, I love them more than life itself. Right today, I love every one of them. And I believe they love me because they shows it. And I just thank God for it. I really do. I'm just thankful for all of the love they show me. I know they love me because they show it to me. And I'm just blessed, and I thank God for it. I thank the Lord. He let me live to get 88 years old, and I tell you what, I'm just thankful. I have been able to travel and go and do some of the things that I really have enjoyed doing, and I'm just thankful for that. I served as the president of Sycamore Grove Senior Citizens, and we did a lot of trips. We went on a lot of different trips. We went to movies, and we went down to
Amish?
Yeah, we went to the Amish
Branson.
place, but down Branson. We went to Branson several times and saw biblical plays, and it was just really, really good, and I have certainly enjoyed it. And when we went to New Orleans, saw some of the really nice places there, and we was on Beale Street, but it was real educational, and like we went to the place that make these pralines. I was telling Harvey, I said, I went there and watched them make pralines, and that's what really gave me to know what pralines really was. And it was just really, really nice. And we went down to see the biblical pictures down in Branson, and we just enjoyed ourselves. And I'm retired now, and I am so thankful that I don't have to get up and go to work. I used to have to get up when I felt like it and when I didn't feel like it, but now I can get up when I get ready and do the things that I want to do. And I'm grateful for that. It's just a blessing. I feel blessed to be able to do that. I enjoy coming out here to Phoenix. I know my family out here loves me because they show it. They just do everything for me, and I'm just grateful. And to go anywhere I want to go. I can go anywhere I want to go, and I'm thankful. I'm involved with my mother's ministry in my church, president of my mother board, and we do our communion and the different things like that we do at our church. We on a prayer team. It's a prayer chain, and when someone needs prayer, I call all the mothers and get them on board, and we all say express your prayers for whatever the situation is, and I'm thankful for that. I serve with the Sycamore Grove, not Sycamore Grove, but the Seton Center Senior Buddies. That's a group of seniors that I work with. I serve as the president of that group. We do a lot of things. We go on trips, and we just do a lot of things together, and I'm just grateful for that. It's just really nice. And I am in a house with my daughter, Marcia Perkins, and Donna made that possible. I have a very nice place to live, and I'm just grateful for that, and I'm very comfortable there. I feel like I'm just blessed to have that nice place to live. And I'm able to go to church. I ride with Marcia, not if I ride with somebody else if I want to, and I can drive if I want to, but I don't have to, so I don't. The Lord has been good to me and still is. Oh, honey, over the years, my family has grown. I can't name off all of them because there's some in there that I don't hardly know. But I know that Deborah has Steve and Heather and Brandon and comes to see us very often. And she's got some grandkids. I know Brianna, Keasia, Chris, he's there, and Janiyah is with Sue, and TJ's back. Glad to have him back. Josh, there's Josh and Jason, and then I have Princess Wilford and Quincy here in Phoenix. I love my family, and I believe they love me because they show it. And I'm just grateful to have them. And I just thank God for them. I pray for them. I pray for the one that's saved, and I pray for the one that's not. And I just pray that God will take care of each and every one of us. Oh, honey, listen. I know I'm growing old, but
maturing.
My hand is in God's hand, and He's taking care of me, and I'm so grateful for that because I'm one of His children, and He is my Father, and I don't fear for anything because I know He's gonna take care of me, and I'm just grateful. And my hand is in His hand, and I will live until He said, "Well done." And when He said, "Well done, come on up high," I'll be ready to go. I just say, "Yes, Lord, I'm ready to go." Well, honey, listen, I seem like I'm doing everything now. I don't know what else. I don't know what else I could do, honey, because I'm doing everything. Y'all fixes everything for me, and I don't know nothing else I want to do.
Stop looking at price tags.
Oh yeah, my son always tell me to stop looking at the price tags, but that's the reason why that I got a few pennies now because I watched them price tags.
Yeah, but you don't have to do that no more.
Oh well, with my senior citizens group, we play bingo and we go to different places and go to a movie every now and then. And where the Amish people is, we go down there and just have a nice time. We shop and do whatever we want to do and have dinner and have lunch and I just thank God that I'm able to retire and just do the things I want to do.
And singing on the praise team with the motherboard?
Oh yes, and we sing, we get the motherboard, we pray, and we just have a wonderful time.
The Wheel of Fortune.
The Wheel of Fortune. I love the Wheel of Fortune. I love to watch Gunsmoke. And when I'm at home, I watch Jimmy Swaggart and I watch his choir, and I just love looking at them and listening to them. Oh, we have exercise at our senior group. I enjoyed that.
And you enjoy making peach cobblers,
Oh yeah,
sweet potato pies.
peach cobbler, sweet potato pies, and Harvey likes to eat banana pudding and like to eat dumplings,
Fruit salad.
fruit salad.
And
So
your
we-
candy yams, nobody can make them like you.
So whenever I come, I always try to do some of the things that I know he likes, cause he can't cook. Donna cooks all the time, but well, he do cook sometimes. He like to barbecue and what have you. So I try to cook some of the things I know he like to eat. I grew up cooking. My mother was a great cook, and my aunt was a great cook too. And I would get in the kitchen with them, and they would be cooking, and honey, I'd be in there kind of helping around, and I would be learning, cook like they cook. And my brother was a chef cook. And so we just, he and myself, we're about the two best cooks in the family. Now Deborah cooks, and then Harvey, he do cook. Donna cooks, well, all the kids cooks.
Yeah, Marcia and Sue.
Yeah, Marcia cooks, Sue cooks. Yes, they do. So all my children cook. We used to have a catering service. Oh, we used to do some of the most beautifulest dinners and caters. We did weddings and we did anniversaries, and we used to just, our place would look like a picture. And Donna was it the
Fruits and
salad
vegetables.
and fruits, and she could take an apple and it looked like a bird getting ready to fly away. She'd have the wings on and the tails on, and it would just be beautiful. So we all just cooked and pitched in, and our tables would be so pretty. And we had a good catering business going till everybody started getting married and moving away, and I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah, and the name of the catering was Thomas Family Catering, and it was when you care enough to get the best, call us and we'll do the rest.
That was it.
Was
That
our
was
motto.
it. And they did it. They did it. Hmm. Well, yes, the main thing is keep God in your life. Keep Christ in your life, and you will do good. Because after all, you need Him. If it ever was a time that you needed the Lord, you sure do need Him now. With the way things are going on in this world now, it's bad to not have Christ in your life because you don't know what's going to happen. So many things is happening nowadays, and Satan is busy, and we need the Lord's help. So I would give advice for anybody. Keep your hand in God's hand and ask Him to protect you and to take care of you. That's what I do every day, and I would advise anybody else to do the same thing. That's all, Quincy, and I thank you for putting this together. And when the Lord called me home one day, you can just turn on and start playing this and listening to it. Said, this is my grandmother when she was here. I recorded her, and I said, we're going to play some of her tonight. We'll listen to what she got to say.
And we can play it back while you're still here to listen back to that too.
Yeah, yeah.